You've officially tuned in to the Epiphany Podcast, and I'm your host, Joanna Lynn. Thanks for joining me on my journey of spiritual growth, restoration, and most importantly, transformation. You've got a front row seat, so take my hand as we journey together. We're on the Epiphany, y'all. Hey everybody, it's your girl Joanna Lynn, and we are here for episode 44. It is titled The Mental Toll of COVID-19. Okay, I'm sorry. Y'all know, I'm pretty sure you've noticed, maybe not been upset or had any type of feelings towards it, but I'm pretty sure you've noticed that I've kind of avoided talking about the COVID. Just avoided it because everybody's talking about it. Everybody's posting about it. Our whole lives, decisions are being made around it. Events are being canceled because of it. It has come and wreaked havoc in our little lives, and I just was sick of it, honestly. Not that I didn't want to address it, not that I didn't want to talk about it. I'm just sick of it. Well, sick wasn't sick enough because 2 days before Thanksgiving, your girl got it. And so if you follow me on social media and you notice how I was down and gloomy and sad and all alone, that's why. I was by myself because I had COVID. I didn't have it as bad as a lot of people. I didn't have to go to the hospital. It was bad. I'm not going to lie. For me, it was worse than the flu, but I didn't die, But I want to talk to you about the mental effects because that is really what got me, y'all. And I'm not going to lie. I can honestly say there wasn't one day that I ever thought I would die or not make it through COVID or not be okay. And that is 100% because of my faith. I'm just being real. My brother had it back in March, I believe. Didn't tell a lot of people. But I was more afraid when he had it than when I had it. I think when he had it, I was just afraid because he's in the Navy and we hadn't gotten to see him. I just really was like, oh my God, what if I never see my brother? Oh my God, like freaking out, that kind of thing. And COVID had just really came out then, so it was a scary thing. Not to say it's not scary now. I know several people who got really sick and are still recovering, people that have died, people that have lost loved ones, and I respect anyone to the fullest who has been through it, who knows someone that has been through it. It is definitely not something to play with, I will say that, but I have to be real. There was not one day from the very beginning all the way through the very end that I ever really just thought I wasn't going to make it through, thought I wasn't going to be okay, and didn't expect to make a full recovery. That's just being real. I 1,000 gazillion% trusted God, knew that he was going to get me through it, and that was the end game. Like, that was it. I never really thought about it. Quadrupled up on my vitamin intake. Now, I can tell you, I personally was really nauseous to the point where I threw up for like almost 2 weeks straight. No matter what I ate, whether it was soft, whether it was soup, whether it was cooked food, junk food, fast food, canned food, box food, every kind of food made me throw up. The smell of food made me throw up. The thought of food made me throw up. And I am not a throwy uppy kind of person. I'm a thick girl. I like to eat, and I don't have a weak stomach. So that was different for me. Had me really weak to where basically I just kind of slept and died for 2 weeks. Like, I didn't post on social media, didn't talk to nobody, obviously didn't go anywhere. And that was the thing. I've seen several people go back and forth on social media. Introverts being excited because they finally don't have to have an excuse to not go somewhere they just don't have to go. And extroverts, especially when everybody was first quarantined. Well, the thing was, because of my job, I worked, in a financial environment. I never quarantined in the very beginning. Like when the whole world shut down, my job was still open. We were still going to our office. So, other than like church being closed and not being able to go like out to eat, get my nails done, that type of thing, I still had human interaction. I was still going to work, my 9 to 5, like usual. It was business as usual, a little different, a little strange, but still living. So this is the first time I really, really had to like hard down quarantine, couldn't go nowhere. And thank God for things like DoorDash and Waiter and Favor, because they politely brought me my food, which was a waste of time and money because again I kept throwing up. But I'm not gonna lie, the mental effects for me was something for the books. I talked to some of y'all about having bad dreams. I posted about that maybe a week or two ago. That number one is something that kept happening. But the reason I believe it kept happening, so about 2 years ago when I left that abusive relationship, there was a lot of fear, there was a lot of anxiety, and there was a lot of depression surrounded around that life change, obviously, as there is with any other life change. So I was very, very fearful at that time, had a lot of bad dreams, would wake up in the middle of the night, not just dreams like, oh, that was kind of scary. No, like for real, night sweats, shaking, afraid, felt like somebody was going to kill me, felt like I had a mass murderer in my house, felt like the devil himself was sleeping in my bed and making me jump out of it. Those kind of like real PTSD, mentally exhausting type of nightmare dreams. Had them very frequently, 4 or 5 times a week. As I, over the last 2 years, really, really, really strengthened my faith, really strengthened myself as I began to heal mentally, in my heart, in my mind, in my spirit. All of that was required. But as I began to heal, I had those dreams less and less and less. And I hadn't had one in probably about a good old 6 months until a couple weeks ago, right after COVID. But I noticed that not only was I sick in the bed and too weak to get up and go to the bathroom, like the stuff makes you so out of breath, you swear you're 90. So not only was I laying in my bed as a 90-year-old, couldn't get up, couldn't eat, couldn't see nobody, but all of those factors just made me, I don't want to say I was going crazy. I don't think I was going crazy. It basically opened up a door and allowed room for the enemy to play in my mind or with my thoughts, if that makes sense. Hear me out. So the thing about the enemy, he is very deceitful. He is a liar. He is very good at making you believe things that are not real, or causing you to focus or spend your energy and time focusing on something that is non-existent, that is never going to come to pass. Every battle that we fight with the enemy is ultimately a waste of time. And it's a waste of time because we know what? That God is victorious. We know that Jesus is the champion. We already know the end of the story. It's like picking up a book and reading the last chapter first and the first chapter last. We already know the end game. The end game is Jesus died and overcame the world. Jesus died for our sins. He died so that we may have life everlasting, eternally. Our lives are made new. We were given a second chance. We are victorious. We are winners. There's no such thing as losing. We can't lose, okay? So essentially a battle with the devil, with the enemy, with Satan, with bad, evil, whatever you want to call it, however you like to look at it, with negativity, with the, bad vibes, whatever you like to say, however you like to explain it. The battle is already won. Jesus and God have already defeated him. So when he gets us to play this game, He's just wasting our time. He's just keeping us distracted and keeping us away from fulfilling our true purpose in God. So you have to understand that first and foremost, any form of mental distress, trauma, anxiety, depression, any of that, those are all schemes and tactics of the enemy to consume you, to overwhelm you, to suppress you, and to keep you from fulfilling your purpose that God created you for. The purpose that God divinely placed you on this earth to carry out, the mission that He gave you. It's already instilled in you. It's kind of like the story of the ant. I'm sure many of you have heard it about how the little ants travel in a line and they get distracted so easily that 1,000 of them could be traveling in a line trying to bring leaves to their home. And if you take a stick and set it on the ground and put it in front of those ants, the ants are going to get confused. They don't have the mental capability to think to crawl over the stick or to go around the stick. So they kind of get stuck. It's like they have a one-track mind and they're just lost. They don't know what to do. Well, poor us. We got so many things that are taking up our time, that are causing us to shift our focus in the wrong direction, to give too much credit where no credit should be due, to waste our energy, our thoughts, our mind, our heart, our worries, all of that. Instead of putting our worry in God's hands, we put it on our own backs. We carry it like we some kind of superheroes, and we keep on trying to fight the devil. Half of us don't even know who we fighting. We just keep on trying. We keep on keeping on. That is the saying. So when I was home by myself with COVID, my mind really started to go to work. I know that, we talk about all the time, this is forever going to be my story until it's not. Because one of my biggest desires is to have a family, a husband and children, and be a Medea, a mama, a grandma, a granny, whatever my little babies decide to call me. But I do want a big family, and, nobody just wants to die alone, except for you few strange cat people that live in the world. But we ain't gonna talk about y'all today. We talking about me. So, I'm in a place where I am extremely extroverted. I love people. I love talking. I love one-on-one interaction. I just love people. I really do. I'm like, kind of sick how much I love people, because when I was home by myself, I didn't know what to do. I was watching hours on hours on hours of Grey's Anatomy. I finished the whole 17 seasons twice. And then I also watched hours and hours and hours of This Is Us. And I also watched hours and hours and hours and hours of Station 19. Mainly because it's kind of like a spinoff of Grey's Anatomy. And I just think I should be an honorary member of the cast of Grey's Anatomy. Y'all, tag those folks, because I should be in that show. I'd be amazing. But that's neither here nor there. So, being sick with COVID, being literally home alone, no husband, no children, no friends, no roommates, no mother, no father, no brother, nobody. Just me, my crazy thoughts, and my Jesus. And then here's the enemy playing with my head. I remember specifically waking up one night and just crying. And I began to pray to God, and I was just like, Lord, when we pray, some people will tell you to be very, very specific in your prayers. Some people, there's so many different ways to pray. The ways that I pray shift or alter depending on what I'm praying about, what type of atmosphere I'm in. But this particular day, I was like, you know what, God? Is this all that life has for me? Just this crazy, unshakable feeling of loneliness? Am I really gonna be the Catwoman? Am I really going to be the woman that just withers away in her bed all alone? No one to rub my back or give me a foot massage, or no one to cook for or smile with or share life with or fart on, or, whatever. But I really was starting to feel like I was never going to leave the house. I was never going to see anyone ever again. That I was never going to get married, never have kids, and I was just going to die alone. I wasn't scared of dying of COVID. I really wasn't. But I began to get afraid of dying alone. Please help me, y'all. I don't know what's wrong with my brain. But maybe, and this is something I've prayed about, maybe that was just a revelation of one of my biggest fears. One of my biggest fears is dying alone. I get the whole concept. You're born alone, you die alone. Yeah, somebody could be holding your hand, but ultimately you're by yourself. I get that. But when I say die alone, I mean like have no one to share life with. I've said this to people before. I have a lot of friends that are single, but they all either live at home with their parents, have roommates, have kids, even if, whatever the case is. I'm one of the very few people I know that lives completely alone. It has its perks. I mean, I get to come home. I don't care what nobody says. I do what I want, the way I want, how I want, when I feel like. It's a great thing. It is like heaven. But I just wasn't created to be by myself, Lord. I got tired of talking to myself. I got tired of talking to the TV. And I really got tired of talking to God. Not, please forgive me. I didn't get tired of praying. I love Jesus. But for 2 weeks to just talk and talk and talk and talk and nobody talk back, I wasn't having it. It really was playing a toll on my mind. I really was starting to wonder if the decisions I've made within the last year were wrong. I started to wonder if, maybe I just wasn't having the right outlook on life. I started to wonder if I'd been contemplating too much. I know that I talked to y'all about having goals and being so afraid of them. Yeah, I published my book, which, yeah, girls, I published author. Okay, I'm sorry. I just can't get over saying that. But but I do have other goals. I want to buy a house. I've wanted to go back to school. I'm going to talk to y'all about that next week because that's a whole nother ordeal. But I really started to, for the first time in a long time, really think about, okay, Joanna, it is just you. It's all you. You and God. Nobody else. Nobody can't save you from the COVID. Nobody can't take the COVID away from you but Jesus. Nobody can make you feel better because apparently there is no medicine on the face of this planet that can make you feel better when you're taking COVID. I mean, not when you're taking COVID, when you have COVID. It was like nothing I took. It didn't matter. Tylenol, Aleve, Excedrin, Mucinex, Dayquil, NyQuil, what's that stuff? Theraflu, elderberry syrup, natural oils, vitamins, my polar body was just wore out. Okay, that's the thing. The weakness was like for the birds. I'm going to give you 1 point. Do not ever try to come up the stairs with COVID and a case of water. It doesn't end well, okay? That's just my tip for the day. But back to the point. The point is I really was reflecting and recollecting on past decisions, on things that I've thought about, goals that I've set, things that I've written down, things that I've been focused on, and also a lot of the things that I've been praying about. So it was really a great opportunity to kind of shut the world out and have it just be me, myself, and Jesus. I appreciated the time. I wish it would have been on chosen circumstances and not forced circumstances, but that's neither here nor there. You can't be picky. I did get a lot out of it, but it really, really, really did mess with my mind. I really was wondering, am I going to be like this forever? Am I just going to be weak and tired and all alone and struggling to make ends meet, struggling to find happiness, struggling to find my purpose? Because I feel like that journey is one that we never get off. I feel like in life, and maybe I'll get to that point where I'm 60 and I feel like I've already fulfilled my purpose, and I'll catch y'all back up. But as of right now, it seems like fulfilling your purpose in God is a never ending cycle, because it's like things will be revealed to you, certain giftings, certain missions, or things that God needs for you to do. And it seems like right when you get that stuff done and you get ready to celebrate and throw your hands up and be excited because you finally did something right, it's like your whole life crumbles, falls apart, things turn around, and now He's got you, instead of going slightly to the left, you're going all the way to the right. It's an amazing way that God works. We don't understand it. It's not intended for us to fully understand it. Because if we knew everything, we wouldn't need God. We wouldn't need His wisdom, His love, His mercy, and His grace. So, it's a very dependent thing. We have to be dependent on God. So, getting through COVID caused me to realize how much I need to depend on God. As much as I was like, oh, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to die by myself. I'm sorry. That's like my pity voice. As much as I could say, I don't want to be by myself. I don't want this. I don't want that. And have a scroll full of I don't. I started to ask myself, well, what do you want, Joanna? What do you want to do? What are you okay with doing? You're so quick to say, I don't. Nope, nada, zilch, nope, not working. We're always so quick to put things off, to say no. Just to throw things on the back burner, to say we ain't got time for that. All of that. I know that y'all have all felt that way. No, seriously. When do you take the time to say yes? Sure. Absolutely. I'd love to. Look at how many times you say no and how many times you say yes. And I'm not talking about saying yes to the world. I'm talking about saying yes to God. There are times in your life where you will know 100% that God has told you to do something, or God has shown you something that He needs for you to do, and you will avoid it. You will walk on eggshells and you will act like you didn't hear Him. You will act like you don't know what He's talking about. You will act like, or pretend, or sometimes even make yourself believe that you're not capable of carrying out what He asked for you to do. But you and I both know this. When God asks something of you, He asks you to do it in faith, trusting Him. He never asks you to do it based on your own abilities. He asks you to do it based on His strengths, based on His abilities, based on His knowledge. He equips you. He gives you the tools. He gives you the talent, gives you the vision. He prepares it for you. It's kind of like those new meal plans, like HelloFresh. They deliver it to your doorstep. It's a cute little package. You open it up, all the instructions, all the ingredients. You make a great meal. God's purpose is like that. He gives it all to you. Now, the only difference is it's not always packaged in a pretty little HelloFresh box. Sometimes you get a little puzzle piece here, and then you meet someone, you get another little puzzle piece there. You may get married. You may meet a best friend, a business partner. You get a little piece of the puzzle. Then you start a new job, or you move to a new city, or you accomplish a new task, or whatever. There are several different ways that God reveals things to us. You might have a dream. You might read a passage in the Bible, and He reveals just a little bit more and a little bit more, and it becomes more and more clear until you finally decide to either listen, put all the pieces together, figure it out, and do what He told you to do, or you decide to just step out on faith and trust Him. So, As I kept saying, well, God, why? Why? Why not this? Why not that? When? And the more I kept complaining, I finally said to myself, but Joanna, why not? Why not? Why not? Why are we still making excuses? In 2020, if COVID hasn't shown me or all of you one thing, life does not wait on you. Life doesn't wait on you. The world keeps turning. Politics keep going crazy. People keep being people. The world keeps spinning. Businesses either make it or break it. Relationships either are in it for the test of time or they're not. Your faith, your spirituality, your relationship with God, you either have it or you don't. There's no in between. You can't halfway trust God. You can't trust God when it's cute, or trust God when you feel like, or trust God when everything is going good, but the minute you start to feel the brakes halting, you start to question whether he's actually showing you something or whether he's actually prevalent in your life. That's not the way relationship with God works. Trusting him means eyes closed, blindfolded, jumping off a bridge into the water, doing things that utterly scare us, doing things that in the core of who we are, we're deathly afraid of it, things that we would never do on our own, but we trust God. Trusting God through the process. Like in my book, Overcoming 13 years of trauma. Trusting God not only when you have nothing else, but I used to rely on that. I used to love that saying, when all else fails, you can run to God. When nothing is left, you can go to God. I talked about that in my book because many times I felt like that. I felt like I had nothing, so I had nothing to lose. So I was willing to trust God. But don't let that always be the reason or the scenario when you choose to trust God. Why don't we trust him not because there's nothing left, but because we're giving him all that we have? Amen. Can I get a hallelujah? Woo! Something? Can we shout real quick? Why do you always have to trust him after you've tried it on your own and you failed? Why don't you take your good ideas? Why don't you take your confidence, your support, your finances, your trust, your faith, your vision, and put it all in his hands? Give it to him first. Give him the ripe fruit, not the rotten fruit. Give him what you have now so he can take it and he can build upon it. He can knead it and he can multiply it and turn it into more and more and more than you could even ask or dream. But don't take the little bit that you have and beat it up and ruin it and crush it and then expect him to take it and turn it into something beautiful. That don't mean that he's not capable. But why do we continually ask him to do that? For me, he's done that. See, I feel like God has saved me 3 times. Jesus saved me when he died on the cross. He saved me. When I chose to believe in him, I was saved. Those are usually the 2 times most people talk about in their life. And I'm talking about like little bitty time, save me from a car wreck. Yeah, God saves us every day. But Jesus saved me from that life I was living. I had already been saved before. A lot of people you see have done life without him and then they find him. I knew God. I knew God when I made those mistakes. I knew Jesus. Maybe didn't fully understand the depths of his power, his love, but I knew him. And I still didn't listen. And so he saved me again. So I feel a little special. And he'll do it again. If he did it before, he'll do it again. I can tell you that. He will. But we are of sound mind. We have the capability of making decisions, of choosing paths and routes to keep us from making those mistakes. So, as lonely as I was, and as upset as I was, and as frustrated as I was, and the enemy tried to play with my mind, I said, you know what? No, sir. Not in this house. No, sir. This mind belongs to God. He has restored and transformed and made me into who I am today and who I'm going to be tomorrow. I am living for God. So, no, sir, you can't have me. You can't do it. So, I decided to say, you know what, God? I might feel lonely. And I'm not gonna lie, I felt guilty saying it. How can I be so alone when I know that God is with me? I'm not alone, so why do I feel lonely? I feel guilty. But that's part of the reason why God sent Jesus here in the flesh as a human being so he could feel all the things we went through. So Jesus understands loneliness. He's one that you can talk to about it. So I talked to him and I told him, God, I don't want to be alone. This is not what I want out of life. But one thing I know for sure is I want a life with Jesus. I want a life with God. Wherever he is sending me is where I want to go. So I chose to focus on that. I chose to analyze not what the enemy was trying to show me, but what God was trying to reveal to me. That there were pieces of me that I thought were 100% healed from my trauma or whatever you might want to call it, but it wasn't 100% healed. And that is okay. But recognizing it and choosing to do something about it. So, that is my spiel for the day about how COVID didn't just take my breath away, but it took my mind away temporarily.